You notice her across the room before you notice yourself noticing. Something tightens. Your jaw, your breath, the way you suddenly catalog everything. Her laugh, her ease, the space she takes without apologizing for it. You don't want to feel this, but there it is. A quiet, sharp dislike that makes you feel small and ashamed in the same breath. You tell yourself it's nothing, that you're being petty, that you should be better than this. But late at night, when you replay the moment, you realize it's not really about her at all. It's about what she represents, what she seems to have, what you've been taught, somewhere deep and early, that there isn't enough room for. This isn't about being a bad person. It's about being a person who learned, very young, that other women were the competition for something you couldn't name but desperately needed. Psychologists don't have a single term for this, but the constellation is clear. Relational threat sensitivity among women. It's the learned perception that another woman's presence, success, or ease is somehow a referendum on your own worth. It shows up as judgment, comparison, the inability to celebrate without measuring. A reflexive cold distance that feels safer than warmth. And here's what matters. This isn't a character flaw. It's intelligence shaped by survival. Your nervous system made sense of a world that told you, implicitly, constantly, that women exist in scarcity, that approval, safety, and belonging are finite resources. That if she gets it, you don't. You didn't choose this wiring, but you're living with its consequences. This starts earlier than you think. Maybe you had a mother who was brilliant but bitter, who loved you and also needed you to stay small, so her own compromises felt justified. Maybe caregiving was inconsistent, warm one day, withdrawn the next, and you learned that women's love was conditional, strategic, something you had to earn and could easily lose. Or maybe it was subtler. The way teachers praised the quiet girl, the way your father lit up around your more agreeable sister, the cultural script that said women are nurturing, selfless, accommodating, and if you weren't, you were difficult, threatening, too much. So you learned the rules. You learned that women were your first audience and your harshest judges, that belonging required constant calibration, that other women weren't safe collaborators, they were mirrors that could reflect back your inadequacy at any moment. None of this required a villain. It required only a world where women's worth was tied to being chosen, approved of, loved, and where those resources felt desperately limited. You absorbed the scarcity before you had words for it. Your brain did what brains do. It protected you. The amygdala, your threat detection system, learned to flag other women as potential danger. Not because they were dangerous, but because the systems around you made their presence feel like competition for safety. Your prefrontal cortex tried to regulate, to rationalize, to tell you this didn't make sense. But neural pathways carved by early experience run deep. Your nervous system doesn't care about logic, it cares about survival. So now, years later, you can know intellectually that women aren't your enemy, and still feel your shoulders tighten when one walks into the room. That's not hypocrisy. That's conditioning. Your body remembers what your mind has tried to unlearn. And here's the tender part. Beneath the judgment, beneath the comparison, there's often grief. Grief for the sisterhood you didn't get, for the permission to take up space you were never given, for the belonging that always felt just out of reach. This pattern doesn't announce itself. It hides in plain sight, woven into the fabric of how you move through the world. You might dismiss women's successes with a quick, must be nice, while genuinely struggling to feel happy for them. You might find yourself mentally cataloging flaws. Her voice is too loud, her confidence feels performative, she's trying too hard, as if diminishing her restores something in you. You might feel a strange relief when a woman you envy fails, followed immediately by shame for feeling relieved. You might avoid female friendships entirely, telling yourself you just get along better with men, unaware that what you actually mean is, men feel less dangerous to your nervous system. You might perform support, liking posts, saying the right things, while feeling nothing, or worse, feeling resentful underneath. You might hold women to standards you'd never apply to men, expecting them to be warmer, softer, more generous, then punishing them when they're not. You might struggle to accept help from women, convinced that kindness comes with hidden strings, that vulnerability will be weaponized later. You might obsessively compare bodies, careers, relationships, mothering styles, as if life were a zero-sum game where someone has to lose. You might feel threatened by women who remind you of younger you, or freer you, or the you that didn't learn to shrink. You might notice that your harshest inner critic sounds like a woman, maybe your mother, maybe a teacher, maybe a composite of every woman who taught you that your value was always up for review. These aren't moral failings. They're adaptive strategies that outlived their usefulness. Here's what this costs you: loneliness in crowded rooms, the ache of never letting women all the way in, the exhaustion of constant vigilance, the small, persistent grief of knowing you're keeping yourself from the very connection you crave. You miss out on mentorship, on collaboration, on the specific kind of witnessing that only happens when women see each other clearly and without competition. You stay small, because if you can't celebrate another woman's bigness, you certainly can't claim your own. But here's the reframe that changes everything. What saved you then constrains you now. That hypervigilance, it kept you safe in systems that punished female visibility. That comparison, it helped you navigate environments where you had to earn belonging daily. That distance, it protected you from the pain of betrayal you'd already experienced. You weren't wrong. You were surviving. And now you get to choose something different. Not because the old way was shameful, but because you're no longer in the same environment. The threat has shifted, the rules have changed, and you have more agency than you did at 7 or 14 or 22. Healing this doesn't require perfection. It requires practice. Small, consistent shifts that rewire what safety feels like in your body. A. Witnessing over fixing. Start here. Your experience is real. You don't need to justify why you feel what you feel. You don't need to have had bad enough experiences to warrant healing. Retire the phrase, "it wasn't that bad." That phrase kept you small. It kept you loyal to systems that didn't protect you. The goal isn't to become endlessly forgiving. It's to become accurately forgiving of yourself first. B. Body. First, your nervous system needs proof that other women aren't threats. Logic won't convince it. Felt safety will. Try this. Orienting. When you feel that familiar tightening around a woman, pause. Look around the room. Name 5 things you can see. Notice temperature, sound, the surface beneath your feet. This signals to your amygdala, I'm here, I'm present, I'm not in danger. 60 seconds. That's all. Or this. Long exhale. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. The extended exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the branch that says you're safe now. Do this 3 times before a difficult interaction. Or this. Hand over heart. Place your palm flat against your chest. Feel the warmth, the weight, breathe slowly. This is self-soothing that works, not because it's woo-woo, but because it leverages your body's own calming mechanisms. 90 seconds can shift your nervous system from threat to openness. C. Boundary scripts. Boundaries aren't walls, they're thresholds, and you need language that honors both your limits and your relationships. For friends, I care about you, and I'm not available to process this right now. Can we revisit tomorrow? For family, I hear that you're worried. I'm handling this the way that works for me. For workplace, I appreciate the feedback. I'll take what's useful and leave what isn't. For romance, I need some time to think about this without pressure. I'll come back to you by Friday. For self, not everything requires my immediate response, and this one, for all contexts. I'm not available this week, but I hope you find what you need. Notice, no apology, no over-explanation, just clarity. D. Language swap. The stories you tell yourself shape your reality. Small language shifts create spaciousness. Instead of, I can't handle this, try, I'm building capacity for this. Instead of, I'm so bad at boundaries, try, I'm learning to honor my limits. Instead of, she has it all figured out. Try, she's navigating her own complexity just like me. Instead of, I should be happy for her. Try, can feel complicated things and still wish her well. Instead of, I'm too sensitive. Try, I feel things deeply. That's not a flaw. Words create worlds, choose yours carefully. Inner child bridge. Somewhere inside you is the girl who first learned that women were dangerous. She needs to hear this. You didn't deserve that. You were just trying to feel safe, to belong, to be loved without conditions. You did nothing wrong by adapting. You were brilliant, actually. You survived. And now you get to rest. You get to be held without earning it. You get to take up space without apology. Say it aloud. Write it down. Let it land. This isn't indulgent. This is the repair work that changes everything. When these patterns begin to shift, life doesn't become perfect. It becomes quieter. You notice you can be in a room with a brilliant woman and feel curious instead of threatened. You ask her questions. You learn from her. You let her success coexist with your own without making it mean something about your worth. You stop performing. You stop curating your personality to be non-threatening. You let yourself be sharp, funny, ambitious, complicated, and you extend the same permission to the women around you. Peace stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like clarity. Like knowing what's yours to carry and what isn't. Like boundaries that protect rather than isolate. Love stops requiring performance. You let yourself be seen, unfinished, uncertain, still figuring it out, and discover that real belonging happens in the gaps you used to hide. You find yourself rooting for women you don't even know, celebrating their wins without the mental math of comparison, recognizing that their bigness doesn't diminish yours. And maybe most radically, you start extending to other women the grace you've been withholding from yourself. You stop expecting them to be perfect nurturers, flawless friends, endlessly available. You let them be human, messy, trying. This doesn't happen overnight. But it happens. One small choice at a time, one breath, one boundary, one moment of noticing the tightness and choosing curiosity instead of judgment. You notice her across the room before you notice yourself noticing. But this time something different happens. Your jaw doesn't tighten, your breath stays easy, and instead of cataloging everything she has that you don't, you think, she looks free. And then quieter, underneath, I want that too. Not in competition, not in scarcity, just alongside. Because here's what you're finally learning. Peace isn't earned by shrinking. It's kept by being whole. There's room. There was always room. The scarcity was never real. It was just the story you inherited to keep you small, manageable, competing for scraps instead of claiming the whole feast. You get to rewrite that story now. You get to build the sisterhood you didn't receive. You get to be the woman you needed when you were younger. You get to root for her and root for yourself, without contradiction, without cost. What part of this felt like a door unlocking? Drop a word, a line, a moment in the comments. I read them all. And if this resonated, share it with one woman who might need to hear it. You're not alone in this. You never were.